Morgan's one of those first people that's really hard to read. You know,
even to his brother.
Even to me, I've been with him for 17 years. I still feel like he's the smartest person in the room.
He does, or you do?
I still feel like he's the smartest. I feel like he's the smartest person in the room.
Langston Newton, the kid brother of Morgan Newton, who says he thinks that Morgan is the smartest person in the room. Now, Howie's the smartest person in this room, but the competition is not that big. Welcome to the Red and Blue Review. Say hello to Daryl Bird of the Cat's Paws.
With a take on Kentucky. They have a curfew during fall camp for football teams. Not really necessary at UK. Most of them just got their driver's license. They're so young.
And from Planet Red, it's Howie Lindsay.
They just keep adding players at Louisville. Bryce McNeil comes in from Clemson and Zeke Pike from Auburn. They've got 2 guys from Florida. They've got 1 from Tennessee. They got 1 from Ohio State. We're just collecting players over here.
We're not quite yet ready to kick off the football season, but we're getting close in this week's Lightning Round. Lightning Round on the Red and Blue Review is brought to you by the Kentucky Office of Highway Safety. Guys, you got to remember, click it or ticket. Well, what's hot at the University of Kentucky during fall/summer camp is all the competition, Joker says, is being fought for at just about every position.
We have some very competitive positions that bring excitement to us. The quarterback position is very competitive. The running back position is very competitive. Excited about some of those young safeties that bring competitiveness to our safety position, which allows us to move Martavius Nellums. The tight end position is a very competitive position. There's been 4 of the guys that line up at tight end have started games in their career. So I'm excited about the wide receiver competition.
And he left out running back and a few other positions. And the good news is you've got a lot of competition. That makes everybody better, and you go into the season a little more prepared because you have to be extra sharp. The downside is, wouldn't it be nice to have established starters at more positions? He ticked off 6 or 7 spots on that team where we don't really know who the starter is. We may know a favorite, but we don't know who is going to be the playmaker. And the only way you find out is to go out and find out during the season. And that's a little scary.
Does that mean everybody's good or nobody's good?
That means everybody
question.
on this team, that means everybody is potentially good, everybody's young.
Okay.
I mean, which sophomore do you choose between? Which freshman do you choose between? I mean, you've got Morgan Newton, a senior quarterback. You've got LaRod King, a senior wide receiver. Every other skill position player pretty much is a sophomore or younger.
Rush Week at the University of Louisville for the sororities and fraternities will be a rush season for the football team. The football defense for the Cards hopes that they can rush 4 players, and if they can do that, a title will be theirs.
Well, what it is you don't have to bring all the pressure from when you have to blitz. And a lot of times when you're blitzing, there's some certain people you may have to drop a defensive end. Now let's just let that defensive end drop and let the people who always drop, where the linebackers are the cover guys, secondary, where that back 7 are the cover guys, and let that front 4 go.
There's a big difference in the defensive line these days and the defensive line 2 or 3 years ago. The defensive ends right now, B.J. DuBose, B.J. Butler, some of these guys are just as big, 265, 275 pounds, as the defensive tackles were, a couple of years ago. And that's a huge difference. And that means that you can rush 4. If you've got a really good defensive tackle, they'll hold up a block or 2. You can rush those 4, and that frees up the linebackers. If Louisville can rush 4, which I think they can do for most of the season, they're a much better team.
That's how the New York Giants won a Super Bowl.
That's exactly right. You get 4 guys who can really rush, and I think Louisville's got that. Deontrez Mount, Lorenzo Malden, B.J. Butler, B.J. DuBose. I mean, those Marcus Smith. I just named 5 guys who could sack a quarterback on any play.
Everybody at Kentucky is going to have an opinion on who the Wildcat quarterback should be. The guy closer to the decision than anyone else is the center, Matt Smith, and he says his opinion doesn't count.
It doesn't count, It's one of those things that they say to me, you better be happy with whoever we put in there, because that's the last thing they want to worry about is who the center wants back there. I got to be able to snap with whoever's there, so it's not up to me.
You've got to love offensive linemen. They don't get a say in anything whatsoever. And I've talked to offensive linemen through the years. How tough is it to block for a drop back passer, and then suddenly here comes a dual threat quarterback who's on the move a lot, and he said, doesn't matter, our job, no excuses, is to protect that quarterback and make it work. They just get no respect.
There's a whole lot of things to give you pause if you're a University of Louisville football player, but perhaps nothing more than fumbling the football. Charlie says you put it on the ground, you're going to pay for it.
we do ball security drills every day, and Teddy's thrown in there just like the running backs. We have shoots that we run through, but it's about protecting the football, and we're not turning that ball over. When that ball hits the ground at practice, with the first 2 days you guys didn't see it, but now that you're not out there, those guys really hear it now when that ball hits the ground. That ball better not hit the ground. You don't want that to happen. Even your running back, wide receiver, whomever carrying that ball, do not let that ball hit the ground.
What happens when it does?
Oh, it's not very fun.
A couple of times they fumbled the ball during the open practices, and you could tell those coaches, they just wanted to just rip into the guy.
Wait till we close the doors.
As soon as they close those doors, all those daggonnets turned into something different. It is such a huge deal for Louisville this year because I think they've got the defense to win a lot of games. I think the offense is going to be productive. Those backs cannot fumble the ball. Those wide receivers cannot fumble the ball. After practice the other day, saw people army crawling 200 yards. 200 yards all the way down the field, all the way back because of fumbles. And I was asking one of the offensive linemen, why don't you guys? We never see you guys over there. They're like, listen, we're big. We don't want to do any extra work, any extra running. We make sure that we don't have any penalties, any drops, anything.
Well, everybody in a Kentucky uniform can play football, but linebacker Khalid Henderson loves football.
Khalid Henderson, very focused. He's very focused, very determined. Willing to learn. He came for spring practice, and all he did was follow Rick Minter. He's a Rick Minter type of guy. He's a ball coach is what he is on the field, and you better have that at the linebacker position.
You better do. We've talked in previous shows about UK needing to project out there and grab somebody that is a little bit heralded, but Alabama's not knocking down the door. Khalid Henderson has the most buzz on the defensive side. He has since the recruiting began. You just recognize he may have that it factor that, you've seen Danny Trevathan, you've seen Wesley Woodyard, Braxton Kelly. This may be the next one in line.
The star at the University of Louisville football this year, no doubt, is Teddy Bridgewater. But the buzz really is, Charlie says he's not all Louisville football. There's plenty of talent and plenty of opportunity to go around.
But what I said to Teddy, and I said this to the football team last night, it's not so much Teddy Bridgewater, it's a complete football team. He's a freshman. A lot of guys started last season as a freshman. But we're only going to go as Teddy goes, so the offensive line has to protect. Running backs are going to have to run hard. Wide receivers are going to have to catch the ball. And our defense is going to have to play well. So if that happens, then Teddy Bridgewater should have a good year. But Teddy is still developing. He's got a lot bigger. He's got stronger. But now he understands the offense and he knows the offense. And by him this summer becoming a student of the game, now he's going to be a better player.
Yeah, I think Teddy Bridgewater is the face of the program. The last two seasons, of course, it was Bilal Powell the first season, then it was Victor Anderson the next season. And I had an unnamed player joke that it would have been Teddy Bridgewater this season, except he got braces. So, can't be the No, but it's cool to see a kid that good, that young, and really the braces are just a reminder of how young he is. I mean, he looks like a high school kid with them, and he is still, 19, I guess, and he's going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the Big East, maybe in the nation.
Well, if you ever went to Sunday school or Vacation Bible School when you were a kid, you were taught the song Deep and Wide. Well, the theme song for Kentucky football this year might be Deep at Wide, which is one of the kind of topics you'll find in the Kentucky Football Yearbook, DB.
Do appreciate it very much. It's on newsstands everywhere, available through shopcatspaws.com. 136 pages previewing the season, extensive Q&A with Joker, 21-23 player profiles where we sit down with the guys and talk to them. Great read, 800-641-3302.
Allstate Ford, 7-time recipient of Ford Motor Company's President's Award for Customer Satisfaction, with 13 Ford certified service technicians and a best-in-class parts department. Business or personal, we are the truck experts. Allstate Ford, on the Watterson at Poplar Level Road.
To save more lives this summer, we've stepped up highway law enforcement. So don't forget to buckle up, don't speed, and don't drive under the influence. Because this summer, we're going to have Kentucky completely covered. Blue lights across the bluegrass.
No excuses, no exceptions.
It's
It's Chevy Truck Month, and now is the time to get your new truck. Bachman has more Chevy trucks than any other dealer, all at fantastic prices. You'll get every Chevy incentive plus exclusive Bachman discounts during Chevy Truck Month. Tremendous selection of Silverados and every dependable Chevy truck. Plus, you save more during Chevy Truck Month with exclusive Bachman discounts. All Chevrolets are created equal. Bachman makes the difference.
Underage drinking can permanently affect your memory and speech abilities. 10% of suicides involve underage drinking. 36% of homicides involve underage drinking. 30% of drownings involve underage drinking. Almost half of underage drinkers become addicted. Don't throw your life away.
Join the club at Sam Swope Auto Group. When you service a vehicle at any Sam Swope dealership, you automatically become a Service VIP Rewards member. You get member pricing on parts and service, lost key return, and emergency roadside assistance. Plus, you can earn points that qualify you for discounts on your next vehicle purchase, up to $2,500. The best part is becoming a member is free. Become a member today at any Sam Swope dealership. Nobody walks away because everybody saves.
Have you driven a Ford lately? Well, stop by Allstate Ford and test drive a new Explorer or F-150. Or visit us online at allstatetrucks.com. Allstate Ford, on the Waterson at Poplar Level Road.
There's no question Charlie will build a great football program here. He does have for some reason, he's able to get into those recruiting areas, and he does a good job in Florida. Somehow he's getting them out of there. There's a lot of players there. There's a lot of people down there going after him, and he's getting his share.
Former Kentucky coach Fran Kersey believing the job that Charlie Strong's been doing reinvigorating this Louisville football program. Welcome back to the Red and Blue Review. We're going to be talking about some specific positions of strength and perhaps weakness in our Game Time storyline. Topic number one on our Game Time storylines is Kentucky coach Joker Phillips says this year the Cats will not have a go-to receiver.
Somebody mentioned about a go-to receiver. Is he going to be your go? I don't understand what a go-to receiver is. I mean, I've been in this business a long time. That's a cliche that you as media. Sometimes I hear coaches saying there's no such thing as a go-to receiver. You better have 3 guys out there that can make plays. We have to have complementary receivers. We have to have a guy, because on third down, if you got a go-to receiver, I'm going to roll coverage to him. Okay? I'm going to put somebody underneath him. I'm going to put somebody over top. And now somebody else has got to make a play for you. And your quarterback's over there patting the ball, waiting for him to get open. He's not going to get open. We got to have a number of receivers that can make plays for us. Okay, the reason why we weren't successful in advancing the ball down the field in the passing game, we didn't have any big plays.
That's why you have to have a go-to receiver.
Right. Seems logical to me.
Sorry to jump the shark here.
That's
but
all right.
Go ahead.
I think it's fascinating debate because the immediate response from me is that's insane. Every NFL team has that top receiver that quarterback's going to find. Joker Phillips was the go-to receiver when he played at Kentucky. Right. He was the guy. Yeah. And here he is saying there's no such thing. I don't know if that's his way of trying to defer to say, look, we can't have Lerod King this year. We got to have Lerod King and everybody else, or this ain't going to work. That may be what's behind it all, but it created a fascinating debate and something worth thinking about. Well, is it really? Do you really have a one? And I think more times than not, teams do have one that they really count on when it's tough.
What do you think, Howie?
Yeah, I think you've got to have a go-to receiver. I think the subtext here is that the SEC defensive backs are so good that Kentucky can't get a guy that good. I mean, I think they had a guy that good in Randall Cobb. I think what he's setting up is the expectation that that's not going to happen again, or it's not going to happen very often. And, from the Louisville side, they had a go-to receiver, I think, in Michael Lee Harris. Now he's out for the season. So who's going to become that go-to receiver? I think it could be Devontae Parker.
Yeah, I do like Joker's attitude because if you think back, when Kentucky was at its best, who was the go-to receiver? Was it Keenan Burton or was it Stevie Johnson? Or was it Jacob Tammy coming out of the tight end as a small tight end? So you got those kind of weapons. You don't need a go-to. You're loaded.
But to have a go-to receiver, you've got to have a quarterback that can feed them. And my thought would be with Morgan Newton, I'm not sure they've got that in him, which is one of the reasons why Maxwell Smith is getting such strong looks now and strong interest by Kentucky fans, and even Patrick Towles. The fans realize you've got to be able to stretch the defense.
You have to be able to stretch it, and for whatever reason, Morgan's accuracy wasn't there. You hear he throws a hard ball to catch. I don't know. That's more on short stuff. He's throwing it too hard on short passes. He can throw it a mile. It's just never really sure where it's going.
Well, Kentucky fans returned about 2,000 tickets that were not able to be picked up and purchased for the Governor's Cup football game, a point that was not lost on Louisville's football coach.
Well, it just shows our support, and the fan support here has just been tremendous. And whenever you have the fan support that we have, then the players start believing in themselves, because now they know that someone outside of the program really believes in them. And so when that happens, then that whole attitude changes. That's why the attitude has changed, because the players realize there's a lot of people wanting to come and watch you play. There's a lot of support out there, and everyone is excited about what you're doing right now. And the whole program, the excitement is in the program, but we can, but just because of the great fans that we have.
2 points here. One, there's going to be more Louisville fans in Papa John's Cardinal Stadium for this Governor's Cup than there ever has been in the history of the series, which I think is very cool. Two, that Kentucky fans deserve a hard time for this. Oh, they're too expensive. 2 years ago, you bought 5,000 tickets when they're a couple dollars cheaper. Don't give me the too expensive thing. It comes down to whether or not you support your team and whether you want to watch them lose in Papa John's Cardinal Stadium, and they clearly do not want to.
And we found out the reason why the Louisville fans got to buy those tickets for $46 and Kentucky got them for $78 is Louisville sets the price. Well, not just Louisville, but the visiting team, the home team sets the price for the ticket. So actually that $78 ticket was originated by Louisville. It's not that Kentucky had jumped up the price on their own fans. Now, we talked about just a second ago about the fact that Kentucky doesn't have a go-to receiver, but Joker says they are wide at receiver.
We had to have some receivers step up and make plays for us. DeMarco Robinson. The reason why I'm excited about him, he did it every scrimmage. It's something, and not just once. I'm talking twice, 3 times a scrimmage. You have to have a guy that can make plays consistent. He showed that throughout the spring practice. Darryl Collins is starting to come. He's starting to be one of those guys that we can depend on, that can make plays for us. That when the ball, he knows how to line up. He knows how to run routes. He's played the position for a long time. Excited about some of these young guys that just walked on campus. I think we'll have a chance to have 6, 7 receivers that can go out there and make plays for us, and not just count on LaRod King to be the go-to receiver, because I think that that hurts you when you just got one guy that you feel like the quarterback can go to.
And therein lies the problem, or at least the challenge for UK, is he's ripping off Darryl Collins, DeMarco Robinson, and the casual fan is saying, who? I've never heard of these guys. I've heard of LaRod King, and Ronnie Shields is the up-and-coming tight end. They're like, who? The team, they've got really good players. They have a ton of potential there. These guys have just got to take it out to the field in big games, the Louisville game, and on into the SEC. You know, this isn't running routes on your high school team. This is breaking free from SEC cornerbacks and much more complicated routes, and doing it even quicker under less time than you did. So it's going to be a challenge.
When Vance Bedford, the defensive coordinator at Louisville, came into the Cardinal locker room and looked around at the size of the players, he had to be asking, okay, where's the varsity? Because they weren't very big, but now the Cards are hanging the beef.
Compared to 2 years ago, it's a lot more size. But you look at it, and it is a team where you look at Jamon Brown, and then next to him is Jake Smith, and then Mario, and then Miller, and then outside is Cooper. Then you look at the defensive line, just really an athletic defensive line. But we have some size and we have some athleticism. So we have some guys that you get fired up about just looking at them.
Boy, this freshman class is the best example of this. You see these kids walk in, golly. Pedro Sabella and Sheldon Rankins and D'Angelo Brown, you're going to hear these names for years to come. Just remember them now. Big Joe Manley's big knucklehead. These guys are humongous. They're 6'6", 6'5", 300 pounds or so. I hear that D'Angelo Brown set the weightlifting record his first week in campus. So, I mean, these are big freshmen. Louisville's never had that.
Well, in order to be a special team, whether you're red or blue, you got to be good at special teams. And that's one of the topics you'll find in Howie's Football Edition this year.
Absolutely. The Football Preview Edition is out in the online version. You can certainly check that out online. If you're a Cardinal Athletic Fund donor, you got that in your email already with all the login information. If you'd like the paper edition, give us a call at 502-636-4330. You can also check it out at cardinalsports.com. Just click the Louisville Sports Report banner right underneath the main picture.
Allstate Ford, 7-time recipient of Ford Motor Company's President's Award for Customer Satisfaction, with 13 Ford certified service technicians and a best-in-class parts department. Business or personal, we are the truck experts. Allstate Ford, on the Waterson at Poplar Level Road.
To save more lives this summer, we've stepped up highway law enforcement. So don't forget to buckle up, don't speed, and don't drive under the influence. Because this summer, we're going to have Kentucky completely covered. Blue lights across the bluegrass.
No excuses, no exceptions.
It's Chevy Truck Month, and now is the time to get your new truck. Bachman has more Chevy trucks than any other dealer, all at fantastic prices. You'll get every Chevy incentive plus exclusive Bachman discounts during Chevy Truck Month. Tremendous selection of Silverados and every dependable Chevy truck. Plus, you save more during Chevy Truck Month with exclusive Bachman discounts. All Chevrolets are created equal. Bachman makes the difference.
Underage drinking can permanently affect your memory and speech abilities. 10% of suicides involve underage drinking. 36% of homicides involve underage drinking. 30% of drownings involve underage drinking. Almost half of underage drinkers become addicted. Don't throw your life away.
Join the club at Sam Swope Auto Group. When you service a vehicle at any Sam Swope dealership, you automatically become a Service VIP Rewards member. You get member pricing on parts and service, lost key return, and emergency roadside assistance. Plus, you can earn points that qualify you for discounts on your next vehicle purchase, up to $2,500. The best part is becoming a member is free. Become a member today at any Sam Swope dealership. Nobody walks away because everybody saves.
Have you driven a Ford lately? Well, stop by Allstate Ford and test drive a new Explorer or F-150. Or visit us online at allstatetrucks.com. Allstate Ford, on the Waterson at Poplar Level Road.
What needs fixing on the Red and Blue Review? Brought to you by Doug Jones Home and Purpose.
What needs fixing on the Kentucky side of things in the special teams is the kick and return game. Darryl, one of the things that's pretty stunning when you consider last year, the offense had a hard enough time scoring points. Then you add to the point that they did not get one punt or one kickoff that Kentucky returned for a touchdown, and you're always depending on the special teams generating some type of points for you.
You have to, and especially when you get so spoiled by having Randall Cobb do it and Derek Abney. That's where they missed Randall a lot when he left early for the pros. They missed him a ton on special teams. It really hurt them. And I knew they were in trouble, and I get yelled at for this. But when I look back on kickoff returns, and you got two defensive guys as your kick returners, now I know Tyrone Matthew was an exception. There are some guys. Charles Woodson is an exception. But as a rule, that's going to be a wide receiver or a young running back, and it's got two defensive guys. I'm like, uh-oh. Never got close to breaking anything last year.
So Burton had success when he was there doing that job. Do you have any sense, Darryl, that they're going to find that piece of magic that Derek Abney had and Burton had and Cobb had?
Possibly.
Because they've had history of it. They just haven't had it last year.
Punt returns and kickoff returns, all these receivers we were talking about earlier, DeMarco Robinson, Darryl Collins, some of those freshmen that are coming in, that's your speed. They're little dudes and they're speedy, and they've got to get to the corner and break that thing. And the guys last year just did not have that speed.
Well, one of the most important players on defense for Kentucky is actually the last guy to touch it on offense, and that's the punter. And this year, That's Landon Foster.
He came here twice, okay? That's our philosophy. Come back. Let's see how you do at the next kicking camp, okay? And all he did was line up. I stood right beside him. I want to see how he handled the pressure. Coach Nord screamed and yelled at him. I want to see how he handled the pressure. He came back the second week, competed the same way against some other great kickers, and we just liked his poise. We liked his confidence. We liked his athletic ability. You don't have to be a great athlete to be a kicker. You have to be a great athlete to be a punter. Similar to Mastay and Telachka, and we feel like we just signed the next great one.
Yeah, if you notice the end of that clip, we feel like we just signed the next great one. That's pretty strong for a kid that's coming in high school. He averaged over 40 yards in high school, Class 6A, all first team as a kicker in Tennessee. If the kid can do it, and he's got to learn, I got to do this a little quicker than I used to. There's big guys coming at me, and so much of it, he was talking about get off time. How fast can you get the ball off? He kept his own in high school because his coach and they didn't keep up with stuff like that. He timed his own and review film and keep up with it that way to make sure he was on top of that and improving it.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
the punter is the only player in football that coach hopes never plays. But he's very vital. Well, for Louisville, they've got a new kicker and a new punter, and that's a new concern for Charlie Strong.
Yeah, it's a concern because you lose Phil Potts, so now you have Appleby, you have Ryan Johnson, both of those guys which you're punting, and then you have Wallace and Nakatani. But it's a major concern because none of those guys they've never kicked in a game. So now you haven't really been able to put the pressure on them that we need to. Now we rush them in practice and we try to put the pressure on them, but not until they walk out here in the stadium where the pressure really be on them. And then you just won't know how they're going to kick that ball, and you're hoping it'll go through the upright when we try a field goal, and when we punt it, you're just hoping it could get down the field. But it is a major concern.
I think you'll probably get Josh Appleby as your punter. I think you'll probably get Wallace as your kicker. But you just don't know. I mean, there's so much up in the air right now for Louisville's kickers that I think it's one of the bigger concerns for Louisville this year.
And one of the reasons why we wanted to talk about it is as close as the Kentucky-Louisville games typically are, even though right now Louisville's about a 14-point favorite. What it may come down to is which one of these inexperienced special teams has the special play, and that team is going to come out with the Governor's Cup. Catch you next time right here on the Red and Blue Review.
I remember the moment.
I'll never forget that moment.
That moment?
It was a moment that changed my life. I'd been training with my team for months, and now we had been called up for the first time. The real deal. Wildfires were getting dangerously close to home. At that moment, I got my first taste of just how important the Guard is to my community.
See how the Guard can be an important part of your life at NationalGuard.com.